Welcome back to the United Pubcast, the podcast of the official Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney, and we have a surprise guest. Larry, first time on the podcast, is it?
Yeah, it is. Thanks for having me, Tom. Eric Tom. Oi, what the hell, man? Your handle. What's going on here? Who's Tom MUFC8? I was given assurances that if I came on today, my interview would be with Eric Tom Haag, not you fraud.
He's been on the podcast for the last week. The listeners have had the pleasure of seeing him for the last week, but back to business as usual. Larry, how have you been? The last podcast you're on was obviously a 4-0 defeat to Liverpool, and there has been more disappointment since. So I'm just thinking how you have coped over the last week, because in the life of a Man United fan, I'm guessing it's been quite turbulent.
From Twitter, I've given myself a good 10 days to recover, and here I am, bracing myself for more disappointment this weekend.
Well, Josh alludes to that in the comments, which we'll quickly get into before we crack on with the preview. Evening, lads. Can't wait for this concoction of disappointment. Evening to Emad, good mate of ours as well. Obviously, a little bit of talk about Juan Mata and benching Bruno Fernandes, which I think will dominate a little bit of the discussion as well. Evening to Rob, as always, and George, good mate of ours. Look forward to one other disappointing match. Good one, George, good one. I'll see you tomorrow at work, mate. But where do we start on this one, Larry? Because we have a lot to discuss in regards to, a Chelsea preview. There's individuals to discuss, there's futures. There's even Andreas Pereira to bring in this discussion later on in his future, being under Erik ten Hag, who knows. But where do you want to start with this? Because obviously there was disappointment against Arsenal, but albeit an improved performance against Arsenal. There's the Ronaldo situation, and now he's going. Bruno Fernandes, obviously for all the wrong reasons, is in bad form, not just playing-wise, but obviously his output. And sort of no greater highlight of that than missing the penalty. And obviously this morning, Sydney time, we saw one of the greatest football matches you'll ever see between Real Madrid and Manchester City, just piling on the absolute pressure because you see, oh my God, what they're displaying. And here we are clinging to hopes that maybe Liverpool can slip up in this game or Real Madrid can beat Manchester City. So it is all piling on Manchester United at the business end of the season for the wrong reasons. Talk to me ahead of the Chelsea match.
Honestly, I'm happy to sit here and discuss Real Madrid versus Manchester City. That was such a good football game. It was.
Benzema, that penalty. Okay, a lot has been sort of brought up in regards to the Zidane penalty, French penalty, etc. However, what were they, 4-2 down at the time? They would have been 4-2 down at the time, first leg in the Champions League. I know he's in good form. The ball's on him to take that penalty like that.
Mate, Benzema, he's and this is the thing, right? I mean, let's flip the narrative a little bit. Let's bring it closer to home. If you think of Bruno Fernandes against Arsenal, the criticism is, oh, why is he doing this slow hop up? Well, you know what? Yes, as much as Bruno's build up to the penalty does my head in, he got him 11 out of 12 last season. No one was complaining then. You know what I mean? Like form and confidence particularly, such a funny thing. Karim Benzema has been an absolute epitome of an elite striker for the best part of a decade. And I think, can I just say, I mean, look, he's getting a lot of plaudits now, but he's always been such a world-class striker. I don't think he gets enough respect for the almost reserved role he played in allowing Ronaldo to thrive in Real Madrid. But you're just seeing him now. He's really coming to his own, hasn't he? Like how good he is. And not just that, the amount of strikers, Lewandowski is another one. The amount of strikers, Tom, who are just hitting their peaks, it's 28's no longer the peak. It's about 32, 33. It's really interesting to see.
Just on that, you bring that penalty back into a Bruno Fernandes discussion. I'll get into Bruno in further detail in a little bit. But in regards to the Arsenal situation where, we get awarded a penalty. Ronaldo's going to pick up the ball. Camera pans to Bruno and everyone goes, what on earth is happening? 10 seconds later, we see what happens. Do you think there was a case, and we're all playing sort of hypothetical guessing games on, why didn't Ronaldo want it? Because Ralph Rangnick said Ronaldo didn't feel like it. We're saying, did he just want Bruno to take it because Bruno was the captain, or was he feeling something after the bad week that he had in his personal life? Was there a case of Ronaldo seeing the form Bruno Fernandes, and you talk about Benzema and the form he's in, he can do anything from the penalty spot. Was there a case, do you think, maybe Ronaldo seeing the form that Bruno Fernandes is in, and thinking, maybe just here's a chance for a goal, I'll give him a goal? And obviously anyone can miss a penalty, but looking back a couple of days later, why do you think Bruno Fernandes took that penalty? Do you think Ronaldo has, very hard to say out of the goodness of his heart because of how selfish he is in regards to goals, but could you see a situation where he has, as a leader, said, hey, one of my teammates is in really bad form, here's a chance I can get him a goal? Or is that reading a little bit too much into it and Bruno just took it?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, look, we obviously, the only people who will know are Cristiano Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, and potentially Ralph Rangnick. I have to assume that when we're talking about Cristiano Ronaldo, Tom, he had a very emotional week, and taking a penalty, you can look confident, but you need composure of the mind. And I just saw how emotional he was prior to. I mean, he scored in the first half. I've never seen Ronaldo look so emotional after a goal. I mean, yes, you resonate his celebration, the Sui and everything, but just in terms of an overwhelming emotion, it wasn't one of positive. It didn't feel positive, did it? And you just felt maybe with everything going on during the week, he felt he didn't have the composure for it. Or it could be, like you say, maybe he's being a leader for Bruno. I'm not 100% sure. But look, I'd say 9 times out of 10, Ronaldo steps up to take the penalty. I would just say it's a matter of on this given day, he wasn't going to take it. And I just think I think too much commentary has been placed into it, to be honest. Bruno's having look, he's not having a good time at the moment. Bruno's an elite penalty taker. Of course he is. I mean, even the best miss. It's okay. You know what I mean? I think it's just been given too much.
Definitely. I do want to crack on with the Chelsea preview, but just 2 comments here. I just want to look at met Adam at the pub on Saturday night. It was good to meet him. Thoughts on the Phillips link. We'll touch on that at the end of the podcast. Remind us to bring that up if I do forget, but that is starting to maybe gather some momentum. And we touched on it last week thinking it won't gather momentum, and here we are proving myself wrong. But Emad here, just for the point before we move on, my first thoughts, Emad. 81st minute, Panenka makes it 4-3, and he goes and runs off with the celebrate with the fans instead of getting the ball. That was my first instinct. I said, go get the ball. However, Benzema knows a lot more about winning a Champions League than myself, and I think he does know it's half-time and the importance of that, not away goal, but making it effectively a 1-0 loss instead of that 2-goal lead. So I think he would have some confidence in going back to the Bernabeu. And
before we talk about United, can you give me what are your thoughts on the Manchester City Real Madrid? They have to go to the Santiago Bernabeu. Who do you see going through? City, man, seriously, they could have been 8-0 up.
Yeah, look, City are the best team in the world for me. So if they're the best team, I think they're going to win any football match. I do, especially they're going into a tie with a lead. I think Manchester City will do it, but who could bet against Real Madrid at home? It's their tournament at home. Manchester City, if there's one team that can bottle it in Europe, it probably is Manchester City. So it's almost a final. Just not that I'm going to enjoy it. I'll enjoy it very much if Real Madrid do win. But just as a football match, you can just sit back and enjoy it. It's going to be an all-time classic, unfortunately. And here we are sort of getting our Europa League fixtures or Conference League fixtures together for next season. But that is the case. But speaking of, obviously, it is a Chelsea preview. We've clubbed Chelsea at the moment in regards to they had that whole issue and still going under the whole issue with the ownership and Roman Abramovich. Technically, they are still the champions of Europe, albeit they are out of the Champions League. They're sort of sewn up top 4 qualification. However, they've been a little bit up and down. I think they lost to Brentford quite heavily a couple of weeks ago at Stamford Bridge, sort of thing. So they are a weird one, and ultimately they don't have much to play for in regards to league placings this season. But I think they're in the FA Cup final from memory. So just what are your thoughts on Chelsea lately? Because every time I turn on, they're either winning or losing, whatever. The only thing I see is Romelu Lukaku either walking to the bench or sitting on the bench.
Oh, Lukaku, man, it's crazy to think they paid. I mean, I know it's not a record transfer fee, but £100 million for a striker who plays a bit part role, you could say. It's astonishing to think about it. I gotta say, my respect for Tuchel has only gone up and up since the news broke around the sanctions surrounding Chelsea Football Club. It has to. How doesn't it? I think those players have every right to be distracted right now, particularly the players who are off contract and can't negotiate. I mean, that's been really difficult. We've seen Rudiger come out this week, and it looks like he'll be Real Madrid bound. But nonetheless, full compliments to Tuchel. He could have been distracted himself. He would have had every right to go to the board and say, well, I'm not working under these conditions. I want to go negotiate with other clubs, secure my own future. He's rallied the troops, Tom. I mean, yes, their form has been a little bit inconsistent as of late, but more times than not, they've picked up the 3 points. They sit pretty in third. I think they will finish third. I mean, it'll take something monumental for them not to. Best of a bad bunch. Is it fair to say at the start of the season, though, you would have placed Chelsea higher? I think a lot of us had them competing for the league title. So you could say they've disappointed. All things considered.
A lot of us had us competing for the league title.
Yeah, granted. I mean, third's better than seventh or wherever we'll finish. So I think all in all, Chelsea have had a good season.
Who's it a bigger game for? With pretty much nothing to play for in regards to league stand-ins. Obviously, they have an FA Cup to continue some sort of form going into. We have no issue with going forward in regards to form. Okay, we finished 6th or 7th. What's the difference? So who's sort of, as players and as managers, who's more motivated in regards to putting their body on the line for the result?
Yeah, I'd have to say Chelsea, unfortunately. I mean, the reality should be Manchester United. You would think for a lot of these players, particularly if they are playing for their futures. But if history is anything to go by, Tom, and we've seen it time and time again, we say they're playing for their futures. Do you remember Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's infamous rant post 4-0 stomping by Everton a couple seasons ago when he was caretaker, saying a lot of these players, there's going to be a clean-out? Most of them played the first game against Chelsea where we won 4-0. So if history is anything to go by, a lot of these players might still, in fact, be at the club. You'd think they're playing for their futures, playing for pride, playing to impress an incoming manager. But unfortunately, these players have shown us they don't have that heart.
Well, Rob here saying Chelsea have third on lock. We're trying to avoid lowest Prem points in our history. I saw those stats, and I think from what it looks like we have to win all our games to not achieve that. So I think we'll confirm that probably this week. Unfortunately, we'll probably sort of secure that tally, which is very unfortunate for the players involved, the managers involved, the club involved, everyone. It's a bad stain on the club as well. And sort of move on, and there's a few other comments which we'll get into a little bit. There's a lot in the live chat which we do appreciate. It's hard to get to everyone all at once. But Bruno Fernandes, I'm going to get into one matter and why he should be playing. Well, to be fair, I've been saying that pretty much every single game this season. But Bruno Fernandes, who I've been saying play every single game as well, it's gotten to the stage now. And it's hard because one is a quality player, so you want quality players on the pitch who can affect games. And for the last 2 seasons, Bruno's affected more games than anyone in a United shirt, but probably David De Gea. So it's hard to drop him. But given the situation he's in at the moment, with effectively, in my opinion, nothing to play for, take him out of the limelight. And my biased opinion, I'll be playing one matter in there, whether you want to throw a Hannibal or change a formation to allow one of the wide players, like Garnacho, etc. Just get him out. We've had this discussion with Harry Maguire when Harry Maguire's in bad form. Just get him out of the team. And I think with Bruno Fernandes, it's almost getting to that stage. Anything that he touches turns to shit like Harry Maguire was doing. A free shot from 12 yards, can't hit the target. Bruno Fernandes can hit the target from there, but it was just one of those ones when he picked up the ball, he knew he was going to miss. Everyone around the world knew he was going to miss. Bruno Fernandes probably deep down knew he was going to miss. So it was one of those ones, in my opinion, now, take him out of the limelight, give him a week off. Brentford's probably a more important game if you're sort of looking for points. It's probably more likely to get points from there. So I'd say give him a night off. In my opinion, play one matter. If you want to play a kid, feel free. But are you playing? We'll get into team selections in a little bit. But Bruno Fernandes, what do you do with him?
I mean, you'll see in my lineup, I've picked him. It's a difficult one. Unfortunately, the options that I would put in there are on loan. I like Galbraith. I think he's physical, he's tenacious. I think is a body that you can definitely put in there, but he's not at the club at the moment. Same with James Garner. I think if he was at United, he'd definitely be demanding or pushing for a first starter spot. I'd even say I'd play Fred, but he's not fit, Tom. So, I mean, the options are limited. And then I look at the performance of Matic and McTominay against Arsenal, both flattered to impress. It's really difficult. You're picking the best of a bad bunch. Like you say, with Bruno, the difficulty is when he's on, he can create something, but when he's off, he's very frustrating. I've gone with something a little bit different. I've tried to go for the best of both worlds, but I'll get into that when we go through our 11s. If you're Ralph Rangnick, though, I mean, I'd be if he wanted to throw Hannibal in there, I'd support it.
Well, is it a game in regards to, we've just discussed, okay, who's more motivated for this game, or what does each team have to play for? Is it fair? I've had this discussion with a few people in the live chat as well, in regards to, is it fair throwing kids in? Look, ultimately, if we throw a Hannibal, or we're going to get into maybe Alvaro Fernandes as well, is it fair to technically, against European champions, throw them in for their debut? Okay, no, it's not Hannibal's debut, but a Garnacho or Fernandes. Is it fair to throw them in against European champions? Probably not, but was it fair to throw Marcus Rashford into a must-win game against Midtjylland? Well, I think we'll lose in the tie against Midtjylland. Was it fair to throw him in then? No, it's kickstarted his enormous career sort of thing. So I think it's, as a manager, if you're in charge of a young player, one or two young players, and you want to give them their debut, how do you see this Chelsea occasion, big packed Old Trafford crowd sort of thing, throw them in under the lights? Or is it, hang on, we'll keep them back for Brentford during the week a bit, maybe the cameras won't be on them as bright? Because if you do, because just picture you play two youth players, give them their debut, and we get spanked 6-0, which could happen to Chelsea. How does that affect them?
Well, Nicky Butt played when United lost 7-0 to Barcelona. I don't remember it impacting Nicky Butt's career.
We lost 7-0 to Barcelona?
Yeah, don't have the year off the top of my head. Yeah, that was a year. It was early in Nicky Butt's career. 94, I want to say.
We lost 4-0 at the new camp when there was the foreigner rule.
4-0. Sorry, 7-0. God. Nicky Butt played. He got slapped. It didn't impact Nicky Butt's career, Tom.
I've no issue, but these are considerations the managers will make, and rightly so, because you look at so many players who did come through under Ferguson. They came through, whether they came through in their individual game where they won, but ultimately in the period they came into a winning culture. And I'm just thinking, you play now who's going to come in and lose in their last 3 or 4 games of the season. It's not great.
What? Yeah, let's flip this though. Put yourself in the kid's shoes. If you're young Fernandes, fullback, looking for an opportunity, are you thinking, if you're him, are you thinking about, I don't know, I don't want to come in here and play bad? Or are you thinking, oh my gosh, this Tellez bloke's awful. This is my chance. If I impress, new manager might be watching. I might get a chance to play next season. You're going to be thinking about yourself. It's not about the team. Like you said, Marcus Rashford comes in, debut, Midtjylland, nothing to gain, 2 goals. Then he plays against Arsenal and scores another 2 goals. And that's the thing. Like, it's just about taking your opportunity. And look, you know it, Tom. If you want to make it at Manchester United, you have to have an elite mentality. If these players are going to be impacted by one potential defeat, then they're not built to be Manchester United players anyway.
Yeah, that's a shout. Now, before we get into team selections, I think I definitely know mine does. I don't know if I think you have included him as well. But as the title suggested, and you compare this in regards to the Bruno Fernandes discussion, Juan Mata. I don't know how long I've been making the case that no matter how good we've been playing or how poor we've been playing, he should be, in my opinion, one of the first names on the team sheet. I think for too long we have played the wrong players. I think some of our best players have often been overlooked. And I think Juan Mata, okay, obviously Ronaldo is the greatest of all time. I understand that. But as a footballer, I could very well make a case, maybe behind Paul Pogba, that Juan Mata is our best footballer. And most teams play their best footballers. Now, I understand sort of limitations or concerns in regards to his fitness levels and his energy around the pitch. That's part of the game. He's got he's got strengths in other parts of his games which other players lack. So for so long, I've been calling for Juan Mata to play. Ultimately, it gets to the stage where sometimes, just in regards to his lack of match fitness and the way the teams plays, he can understand not playing him, and he's obviously going to leave in a few weeks' time. But with the form that Bruno Fernandes is in, with the only what he got 3 or 4 games left in this season, his former club in Chelsea, which he has scored at Old Trafford before against Chelsea, and he has scored for Chelsea at Old Trafford against Manchester United as well. It's just one of those ones where, you talked about Sir Alex Ferguson a little bit earlier, throwing people in terms of games that just suit them. Like if they've got a good record scoring away at QPR, he'll play them no matter what form they're in. I just think Juan Mata at home to Chelsea is 2 clubs in England. Bruno Fernandes in bad form. I just think almost like a testimonial, which he won't get. And I think, what do you need? He'd probably need another 2 seasons to reach a testimonial at Old Trafford, so he won't get that. I'll treat it as almost like that because it's, as I said, almost a nothing game in regards to league position. I would give him a run out.
Yeah, so would I. You're not going to get an argument out of me. I like Juan Mata. Then can I just mock you a little bit, tongue in cheek? If you're talking about playing our best footballers, why is Andreas Pereira on loan? Shouldn't he be in the starting 11?
Well, that's a discussion for a few minutes when he comes back. And look, a bit of tongue in cheek, we can look at that, but that will be interesting. Which we'll get into the Ten Hag and that story in regards to what John Murta has sort of reportedly said to Andreas Pereira. I'll bring your starting 11, and the Juan Mata discussion can kind of sort of come into here. But here's your starting 11. Have you did you sort of watch my previous video yesterday about Alvaro Fernandes and including him in the 11? I'd love your thoughts on there. Other than that, look, you've included Bruno. Just talk me through there, especially around the left back.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, on Fernandes, I'm so done with Alex Tellez, mate. I mean, I got to be honest. When Solskjaer left, Carrick made a very conscious decision to put Tellez and Delo in. And I just thought, the criticism was Tellez never got his opportunity, put Tellez in. I remember the calls at the start of the season, give the Brazilian a go, he can score free kicks, he can do this, he can do that. He has been awful. He has made me miss Luke Shaw, and I didn't think that was possible. Alex Tellez is an absolute shambles of a left back. I look, he won't have a future at United. I don't expect Alex Tellez to be at the club next season. So why don't we just look forward to the future? I just think give Fernandes a go. Yes, I know it's Chelsea, But you know what? Do you remember Borthwick Jackson? I know he's obviously hasn't panned out to be at United the way we thought he would. But Louis Van Gaal took an opportunity on a young left back in the academy, and he looked really good. Now injuries and form and mixed fortunes on loan changed his future, but nonetheless, he took his opportunity at Manchester United. Fernandes has absolutely nothing to lose, and I think ahead of an FA Cup Youth Final doesn't hurt. Play the kid. Why not? He's a big body too, 6'2", 6'3". It's a big body.
Big boy. A little bit earlier in the chat, Borche from the football capital, start Rashford. You've obviously gone there, Anthony Elanga, Rashford's a weird one now as well because he's come in for stick in regards to there's been so many leaks about him in previous weeks. Now we have Ten Hag as a manager and everyone's sort of trying to ride the Ten Hag positivity, and it's come out that Rashford's excited to work under Eric Ten Hag, where a couple of weeks ago he wanted to work under Pochettino. And just your thoughts on the Elanga-Rashford situation, because we're sort of along the same lines of thinking in regards to Elanga. We like him, we like what he brings, we want to play him over Marcus Rashford. But ultimately, if you're sort of, not at the moment, but overall, if you bet on someone finding the back of the net in a must-win situation, to play Rashford over Elanga. So just you're thinking on that situation at the moment.
Yeah, I think with Chelsea, you're going to want you're going to need the work rate in there, and I don't think Rashford's. I mean, look, I think Rashford wants to work hard. He looks distracted at the moment. Tom just looks like someone who doesn't want to be around the football pitch at the moment. Don't know what's happened to him this season. I'm not going to go extreme and say he's trash or anything like that. But I just think Rashford is not thinking about the football pitch. On my midfield, I've gone Bruno and Mata. Now, that's the one where it looks a little bit crazy, and it probably won't happen. But I just think the best football I actually have seen from Bruno is when he's playing that touch deeper, because that's where we actually see him keep the ball. And when he's actually thinking about, when he's given the responsibility of, Bruno, I just want you to keep it simple, look to progress the ball forward when you can, but I want your first thought to be keep possession. If you can give Bruno that role, and we've seen him do it at times this season, early on in Ralph Rangnick's tutelage, he brought Bruno off the bench and he put him in the middle of the park. Bruno sat deep and he sprayed the ball around and he looked good. So let's simplify it. Let's simplify his game. That's how you come back into form. And I think
it'll be very interesting. Yeah, but I think it'll be very interesting. I think we'll have an answer very soon, or like when Eric Ten Hag takes over. Then take maybe 1 or 2 preseason games, and we'll see what control Ten Hag has over Bruno Fernandes in regards to that discipline. If Bruno Fernandes is, well, we'll see. Like, hopefully we do see, but we'll have an answer, I think, straight away. I think the first half we see Bruno Fernandes in preseason, we'll see if he's listening to Ten Hag or playing his own game, and if it's good whatever we see, because we'll have a final answer. If he keeps doing the same thing, we'll say, okay, it's on Bruno Fernandes. If we see that he does change, we'll say, well, that's fantastic by Eric Ten Hag. But I'll throw my starting 11 up here. A similar back four, obviously, I've gone Alvaro Fernandes, and not so much. I agree with Rob. He comes out that Tellez hasn't been that bad. Yeah, look, I agree Tellez hasn't been that bad, but as I said, I want to give someone a debut. I just can't see Garnacho playing ahead of Jadon Sancho at the moment. I know you could throw Sancho on the right and then play Garnacho on the left, but I think there is room for some type of positivity among the crowd, and that's giving someone a debut. And I think physically he's a big boy, and the left-back situation, obviously Luke Shaw is out. So I do agree with that. If you haven't given my video a watch, I did do a 5-minute video yesterday on Alvaro Fernandes, the previous video on the channel. McTominay and Matic, I'm taking a punt on Matic. Who knows if he's fit to play or if he's choosing not to play? I have no idea. This is obviously recorded a couple of hours before Ralph Rangnick's press conference. He might say Fred's available and ready to start. One matter, obviously, I just need to see him given a run out at Old Trafford. He's played well against Chelsea before. I think our best football comes with him in the middle of the pitch, or even not when he's in the middle of the pitch, but especially if you do play him in his position, that does increase our chances of better football. And it'll be great to see him because he is going to leave the club in a couple of weeks' time. So I think almost treat this like a testimonial for him. And then you can maybe give your debut to I keep saying debut for Hannibal, but you know what I mean. Maybe give Hannibal his first start at home to a Brentford rather than this sort of high-pressure environment. And the front three at the moment...
Sorry to interrupt you, Tom. Is this one Mata's 10th year at United?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm just looking at the calendar. He joined in the start of 2014, so he's a little bit off his testimonial. It would be 2 years from his testimonial, unfortunately. But so that's why I treat it like this. His two former clubs, or his two clubs in England. Definitely. Do I expect it? Of course not. But it's definitely what I would be doing. Football capital here saying Rashford on the left, Sancho in the 10. Well, yes, me and Larry have had this discussion there, Borche, in regards to the way Jadon Sancho plays. I think he is define a winger. I think he's a wide player in regards to the way he plays the game, but in regards to the traits that he has, in regards to the way he can move with the ball and his decision making and his eye for a sort of cute, sort of intricate pass, I can see him in that advanced role. I think that's where maybe when Ralph Rank came in that 4-2-2. I thought that's where maybe that's Jadon Sancho's ideal situation where he's got that overlap in fullback where he can tuck in and almost play as the number 10. So I don't think that will happen, and I probably wouldn't do that. But I do like if we had world-class wingers on either side and sort of stacked with options, play Jadon Sancho off the striker. At the moment, I think he's one of our strongest wide player, or if not our strongest wide player, definitely. So keep him there, in my opinion. So the front three picks itself for me at the moment. But just crack on. Just one comment before we move on to Andres Pereira news I want to touch on, Larry. But good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for keeping it real and level-headed. One of my favourite United channels online, extremely underrated. Let's get those likes and subs, guys. Thank you, Eric. Really appreciate those kind words very much. And if you aren't subscribed, please do. And if you could leave a like on the video, very much appreciated, Larry. I hate match. I know I hate score predictions, but give me one.
Oh, how do I? I've never come on here and predicted a loss, but I'm gonna do it today. I can't see it. I'm gonna say 2-0 loss. How do I sit here and predict a victory? It's impossible at the moment.
Well, I think we can snatch a draw. I think there'll be a buzz because there'll be the protest ahead of the game, so there will be a bit of a buzz ahead of kickoff. That's where I think you capitalise on that buzz by giving someone a debut. The crowd will be up for it. Now, ultimately, how are we going to start this game? Liverpool, we conceded after 4 minutes. Arsenal, we conceded after 3 minutes. I think we'll have our answer after this game after 2 minutes, and we'll see how it's going.
Mate, Football Capital, mate, whatever you're on, please. I'll message you my address. Bring me what you're having. I want some. I hope that happens. I can't see it.
Yeah, definitely. A few shouts here. Emad 3-1. No one's putting scores except Football Capital put United 3-1 to who? Josh 0-0, obviously 0 to each team. Adam saying 2-2, trying to be confident. Eric 1-1. And Dublin Games here. Hello, mate. Good to see you. Hope you are subscribed. Good to see you. I'm guessing you are from Ireland, but good to see you, mate. But Larry, anything else before I want to touch on the major story, in my opinion, and that in regarding to Andres Pereira? But anything else Manchester United, Chelsea related, or any Man United news I've missed? Because there's always news that sort of popping around.
I'm here for Pereira, mate. That's what I want to talk about. This is going to break the internet. We're only going to sign one midfielder this summer because Andreas Pereira is the savior. You've all forgotten about him. He's going to come in. He's going to remove the wool from your eyes, and he's going to show you what Tom's been telling you for 3 years since the United podcast's birth, that Andreas Pereira is a better footballer than Scott McTominay, and he's a better footballer than Paul Pogba, which is why we're letting him go on a free. And he's going to I give up. I tried.
One of the ones people are probably sick of me saying in the last couple of weeks is, could you imagine this player playing at Ajax? I think I've been saying that for so many players. Could I envisage him playing at Ajax? I can't see him playing in the Dutch league. Andreas Pereira is one player where you could see sort of playing in the Dutch league and thriving. Well, he obviously came from PSV in his youth days, and he came to Manchester United. And this is not me saying bring Andreas Pereira back to the club or I want him to play, but I'm just thinking we're not going to be signing 10 players. It's simply not going to happen. Everyone thinks we're going to sell 10, sign 10. It's not going to happen. We might sign 3 or 4. Okay, that is where I think the business side of the club, whether that be John Murtaugh or Richard Arnold or whatever, whether he's plays out of contract, like a Juan Mata, who else is out of contract? Nemanja Matic is obviously leaving. Jesse Lingard, maybe Jesse Lingard potentially stay. If Eric Ten Hag has a word to him in regards to the club simply won't bring in that amount of players. So if Andreas Pereira is still contracted to the club, and it sounds like this deal with Flamengo might fall, I don't think it will fall through, but it sounds like if it does fall through, they're giving him the option. Well, not the option. He's obviously contracted to the club, but come back and Ten Hag will be willing to have a look at him. Now, I'm just saying, put yourself in Ten Hag's shoes. Is that the right thing? If Andreas Pereira hasn't proved himself at Manchester United to succeed at the club, is Ten Hag still making the right decision to give him a chance? Could you treat it like that, or has he sort of shown enough at United where he doesn't deserve that second chance? So here I'm not saying bring him back and start him in midfield. I'm just saying as a footballer, does he deserve a chance if the club sort of fail to get that deal over the line?
Yeah, it's a really tricky one because you and I have always said about Andreas Pereira, all the ability in the world. Like, he really does.
He's a cracking footballer. He's not unbelievable. He's a great footballer.
It's just up here, Tom. Yeah. It's just up here. But that's the thing.
That's where 90% of the game is.
It is. But I just wonder, with the right coaching, with a manager who could... Look, I don't think this will happen. But I just want to argue why it could work out. With the right coach, and the biggest thing is the manager really matters here. a lot of the commentary that probably hasn't been touched on Eric Ten Hag is he does one-on-one coaching with his players. It's something he's very conscious of doing. So if he's willing to put that time into a player like Andreas Pereira, whose attitude can never be questioned, he's always been, the way we're talking about the current players, they don't care, they don't have desire, no respect for the badge, etc. You can never say those things about Andreas Pereira. He worked hard in everything he did. Effort, he left everything on the pitch. It's just his execution, his final ball was frustrating. But if you can get him making the right decisions with the ball, he's got all the ability to make a positive impact. Whether he does or not, I have my doubts, and rightfully so.
You made very good points there, and I just want to throw this question to you. Sorry, a few comments pop up there. I just want to throw this question to you and also answer this in the live chat. You have an option as Manchester United. Do you extend Jesse Lingard's contract, give him a short-term contract, and keep Jesse Lingard on next season, or let Lingard go and bring Andreas Pereira in to fill that role?
I'd go the latter.
You bring Andreas Pereira in. Could you, obviously, you couldn't see yourself saying that a couple of months ago, but is that, well, obviously it does sadly sort of sum up the stage you're at, but let me know in the comments, do you give Jesse, let's say it has to be one or the other, do you get Jesse Lingard on a new short-term deal to sort of stick him around in a sort of congested Europa League or Conference League fixture sort of pile up, or do you bring Andreas Pereira back, who's obviously currently technically under contract?
Man, I'm telling you, Andreas Pereira, I'm only saying this because he's got all the ability in the world. Look, if it's up to me, you let him go and you bring in reinforcements. I think that's the right way that it should go down. But if United are in a position where we're going to have a big squad, and even with two midfielders bought, let's say, if you've got Matic and Pogba leaving, that leaves room for two signings. And with Lingard leaving and Mata leaving, there's room for a Pereira to come back. It's possible. It's possible. And he's got the ability. If he's a squad player and we're in the Conference League and he's being played there and he impresses where he can be rotated in after impressing, no one's going to complain then. But I just really think it's so important that you're talking about the style of manager and the style of football we play. For an Eric Ten Hag system, you can see Andreas Pereira fitting. And that's what's really important.
The weird thing is, and on this, my opinion, sell Pereira, sell Lingard. I can also see Jesse Lingard working under Eric Ten Hag if he's motivated and wants to be there.
I think with Lingard, it's a bridge too far. I just think he's been messed around a little bit. He's 30. He's going to be a squad player. And at his age, I think he really needs to be playing football day in, day out. It's a short career at the end of the day. So if you're Jesse Lingard...
Moving on from Jesse Lingard, Larry, Paul Scholes. Can someone take a microphone away from him?
Keep it on. He's entertaining.
But this is a guy, and we sort of celebrate. We're kind of frustrated during his playing careers because he didn't talk enough, but we kind of did sort of celebrate that, and it was sort of good to look at. Okay, he's one player. He was played, left, he didn't do any interviews, and that was sort of celebrated, and rightly so. But there was a hint of frustration. We wanted to hear more from him. And when Paul Scholes does speak about whatever, we do listen because he has a great insight, and he's obviously got great experience and knowledge of Manchester United. But since he hung up the boots, he's done nothing but talk about the club. And that is good because we do want that information. But he is so honest, and sometimes that honesty goes over the top, whether that be with criticism or stuff like this with Jesse Lingard. What do you make of that? Was it just Scholes being Scholes, or was it Jesse Lingard saying do this, etc.? Like, it's just been a weird couple of days with Paul Scholes and Jesse Lingard where Scholes is just making things worse by the day. And maybe making things worse is actually good because it's exposing things. I don't know how to look at it, but yeah, someone take the microphone away from him.
It's nothing to do with Jesse Lingard. I think Scholesy has a big mouth, mate. I don't think there's much of a filter from here to here. Just the comment the other day I was in hysterics when he said, I spoke to Jesse, but it's best I don't repeat what he said. How about don't mention that you spoke to him? How about just leave it alone? He can't help himself, mate. He's the 5-year-old kid who's been caught with Nutella on his hand, and mum's asking where you've been, and I've been in the Nutella, mum.
Yeah, look, I don't think he's the sharpest tool, but in regards to on the pitch, probably one of the sharpest ones you will see. What a player. And he would be first name on my transfer list if we had an unlimited budget and age wasn't a restriction. I still think he could come back and play number 6 for Manchester United the way he was pinging the ball around, exactly what we do need. And someone to go kick someone. It's obviously what we've been celebrating with the likes of Hannibal and McTominay lately. But just about wraps up for us. Obviously, it is a Friday morning kickoff here in Sydney, so United preparing themselves nicely for Europa League or Conference League football next season. So getting in the groove of that. Anything else you want to touch on before the review? Sorry.
praying for a win. Honestly, give us something. We deserve something. When was our last win? Norwich. When was that? 10 days ago. Feels like 5 years ago.
Yeah, no, I'll take anything. A performance first. One Matter goal on his last appearance at Old Trafford. Not hopefully. Hopefully he plays every single game. But in my opinion, give him this one little run out against Chelsea. That's what I would love to see. Let us know in the comments below. If you're watching on playback, your thoughts on the starting 11. Who you think should play? Should there be a debut? Should One Matter get his last appearance? Should Bruno Fernandes be dropped? Or do you play Bruno Fernandes through this form? And just the latest on Ten Hag. Yes,
One question on Ronaldo. You and I came on here and have made an argument for and against him going. And I'm going to come out here and tell you I was wrong. I think Ronaldo should absolutely stay at Manchester United next season. Just considering what's going out the door, there's not many elite strikers. The talk around Núñez is heating up. Let's assume he comes in. But that's a lot of pressure coming from a Portuguese league into England. So assuming all things being equal, you have to keep Ronaldo around, surely.
Look, that's been my sentiment the whole time, whether it be in good form or not good form. But in regards to you say you're wrong, yes, in regards to that statement, but a week before that you would have said keep Ronaldo before you said sell him. The football opinion changes so much, and rightly so. We get always given new information in regards to sort of incomings and outgoings. So, but that's the stupid situation the club has put us in. There is no right answer with Ronaldo. In my opinion, it's right. Whatever I'm thinking, in my opinion, that's right. I think we should keep him. But I can also make a case that's the wrong decision. But then if we do sell him, selling your player of the season behind David De Gea or selling your top scorer, it's a ludicrous decision. You can't do that. So there's no right answer with the Ronaldo situation, unfortunately, and that is on the club. That's the club. That's the position the club have put us in, unfortunately. So at the moment for me, and look, it's been the case the whole season, I want to see Ronaldo. Now I put my hands up and say 99% of that opinion is just based on the romanticism of keeping him around. I want to say I've waited 12 years for him to come back. I just want to enjoy it while he's here, because in 20 years' time, we're going to have to look back at thinking, oh my God, what a player we had. So while we've got it, I just want to enjoy it for what it is. Now, that might be wrong in football terms, in terms of sort of providing a platform for success. I understand that. But football, as I said, that word sort of romanticism, I think it plays a huge part, and in my opinion, rightly so.
Yeah, it does. But it's not just romantic. He is still so good. 22. Did you see his finish the other day? Because we lost the game, it's just, not being thought of. He had no right. That was a brilliant finish.
And the one that was given offside as well.
Oh, that wasn't even better.
Then that's onside. Then he gets awarded the penalty. Or Bruno gives him the penalty and he scores a hat-trick. We're talking about a famous hat-trick away at Arsenal.
I'll tell you what, Tom, I'm not convinced he was offside. That VAR angle was a little bit dodgy for me. Ralph Rangnick's certainly convinced it was a goal. So,
yeah, definitely. Just last one here. Matt, good mate of ours from the Supporters Club, Ronaldo, sell him and give Pogba $600K a week. Have we just assumed, obviously, Ralph Rangnick's comments throughout the week, Pogba is off? Because if you looked at the Pogba situation, I do want to wrap up this podcast now. So last point, poor Pogba. Does he have that many offers around? Surely he's got his career, his future lined up. But the more you dig deep, you think, well, who's really going to take him?
I think it's PSG. I think he'll go to PSG.
Conte and Poch switch. Conte to PSG and Poch to Spurs.
I could see it. I could definitely see it.
I think that just sums Spurs up. I can't see that making sense for either of them. Maybe Conte to PSG. But the reason I can just see it happening is just because Spurs are Spurs. Yeah. You sack Pochettino. You got a good manager in Conte. Let him go and bring back the guy you sacked. I just think that is just 100% Spurs, which makes no sense. Which, because it makes no sense, I can see it happening. But that is obviously going to happen in a couple of weeks' time when the season does wrap up, Larry.
Well, look, Pochettino. Look, I think PSG could do worse than stick with him. He did win the league after all, but PSG do what PSG do. If you don't win the Champions League, you go.
Well, Conte will be out of job next year.
Well, yeah, I mean,
PSG just because they're not going to win Champions League in terms of the way they've run. We're here saying what a manager Thomas Tuchel is, and obviously he did make the final. But ultimately, Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe aren't going to be their front three forever. Obviously, Mbappe's going to leave this season. Likely, Messi will probably leave a year after that. Then Neymar. So in 2 or 3 years, once the manager gets his sort of foot in the door there, they'll have a completely different team. So, and I think all the best players in a couple of years will be making their way to England, not the French league.
Well, on PSG. If you think about it, all right, let's assume Mbappe leaves. So you got a front three. You've got Messi and Neymar in there. Then you're going to throw Paul Pogba into the midfield. Who's going to work hard in that team?
frozen. Oh, he's in now.
Who's going to work
Sorry,
hard
you
in
just
that
break
team?
up there.
If you've got Pogba in the midfield, you've got Neymar and Messi up front. Who runs in that team?
Oh no, that's what. When I watch PSG play in the Champions League this season, I call it in the group stages. They are not a team or a club built to win the Champions League. They're very similar to Manchester United, I think, in regards to the makeup of their squad and their club in general in terms of their goals. But you're just breaking up there, but you're back with us now. But I think it is a good time to wrap up the podcast there for a Chelsea preview. As I said, please do leave a like on the video. And remember to subscribe if you're new. And we'll chat to you Friday night after the Chelsea match. Fingers crossed, discussing a victory. Until then, Larry, have a good one.
Pleasure, mate.
Cheers, mate.